Up, yep, there we go. Welcome everybody tonight to this special national conversation in which we're celebrating and recognizing our achievements and successes over the past 6 years. So a special welcome to those of you who have put your hands up to help us chart our future and work out our strategy for the next few years. We're going to be meeting for the next 3 weeks to do some of that, and quite a few of you on screen have offered to do that with us. So many thanks for that. I'm really delighted and really pleased with the show of hands and the show of enthusiasm. So thank you. I'd like to acknowledge that we're meeting on Aboriginal land, and in my particular case, I'm meeting on the confluence of the Bibliman and Menang people of the Noongar Nation on the south coast of Western Australia. And I particularly like to acknowledge that Aboriginal people and Indigenous people around the world have cared for country in very, very powerful and important ways for many, many millennia, and have lived through many changes of climate without too much drama. So I think we have a lot to learn, and we appreciate all that they can show us. I'd also like to make a special welcome to Sophie, who's one of our 2 new interns, who's just joined us just 2 days ago. So it's really, really good to have you aboard, Sophie. Thank you. Okay, well, without any more ado, I'm going to share my screen and go into my celebration document. And here we go. So our successes and achievements is what we're about tonight, and it's going to be a bit of fun. I won't be talking for very long because I really want to open it up for people to share their own ideas about what we've achieved, but also some stories. It would be lovely to hear some stories too. But I want to give the context of this is the start of 3 inspiring and galvanizing months. It's amazing how lots of things have lined up for this next 3 months. First of all, we have our 3 campaigns that have recently come into being and are still being tweaked, but are already taking effect and having an impact on what we're doing and on our work. We have 2 new interns who started this week, and but also we have a new intern coordinator who stepped up just last week when she realised, and that's Gaynor, by the way, when she recognised that there was a need for someone to do that coordinating role. Just a couple of weeks ago, we set the date for our annual conference and for the lobby week that's going to follow it, and that'll be early November. But also for a couple of months now, we've been planning a strategic planning process, of which this celebration is the starting point. And so for the next three weeks, we'll be meeting to set our strategy for the next few years and clarify how we're going to operate. And one other new thing that's just come on the horizon is the 5 levers training, which was developed in the US by CCL in the US just recently, and is I've just trialed it in my own chapter just on Sunday, and it was very successful. And it's clearly a really important piece of training that has an opportunity to make a difference to how we operate. And just to show you how important it is, what it does is it sets up a team, 5 teams in each functioning electorate, and right at the bottom there is group development. The group development team is critical for laying the foundations for growing the group, but also making sure the meetings happen, making sure that newcomers are welcomed, and yeah, making the meetings and all other activities work well. That grassroots outreach is really important for reaching out to new members and for tabling, but also for writing to members of parliament. Brass Tops engagement is pretty critical for reaching out to community leaders and industry leaders, but also for making presentations to all sorts of people to raise people's awareness about climate change and about our solution and other solutions. And of course, media relations, really, really important. And they're about providing a drumbeat of information and support for what we're doing. And all of these come together and coalesce in the lobbying team, who are the ones meeting with members of parliament and other key individuals. And the other 4 teams are essentially feeding into the lobby team the things that they need to know, and the things that the resources and the new information, the new ideas that can help influence the member of parliament that we're working with. So 5 Levers training, look out for it. It's coming your way soon, because we're going to be rolling it out as much as we can. So looking back over the 6 years since we founded in Australia, that's our growth curve. That's how we've progressed very steadily until the middle of last year, and then started to rise up. And then when the bushfire came, we accelerated a huge amount. And also around about that time, towards the end of the bushfire, we had a lot of input from Reddit, people who came across us through Reddit and joined us on the basis of a recommendation from Reddit. So that's where we are now. And what's really critical here is, because of that rapid growth over the last 12 months, we've really had to think about, well, how do we respond to that? How do we make sure that we have plenty of resource and activity to offer our supporters? And that's part of why we're doing this strategic planning in the next few weeks. I didn't have time to make a fancy chart out of this, or a fancy diagram, but that just shows you how our members sit, or our supporters, where they are. Obviously, New South Wales is the biggest group, and Victoria next, and Queensland, Western Australia, and the other smaller states. But it's really useful to notice how that burst of activity in so far just this year. Since 2020, we've gained almost a third of our membership, or our supporter base. Now, the survey that we did as part of the preparation for the strategic planning produced some really useful information, and many thanks to Claudia, who designed quite a lot of the survey and helped us to put together, but also did a lot of the analysis. And these are the top 7 successes that people listed in their survey results. Number 1, quite easily, was Parliamentary Friends of Climate Action, and I certainly feel proud of that as one of our achievements, that we managed to set up this really important bipartisan body right in the heart of the Parliament. There's a lot more work to be done with them to maximise the benefit, but it's there, ready to make a difference. Our MP meetings, our supporters recognise that just the fact that we have these MP meetings as often as possible with MPs is really, really important, and it's a success that we've managed to achieve so many so far. Our conferences and lobby days are really important, and they've been our annual and sometimes biannual event every year in Canberra, and we've had a few in other states as well, particularly here in Perth. The growth in our supporters was recognised as number 4. Number 5 was resources to support lobbying, the way we've developed resources, and we give plenty of support to people who are about to lobby. A very late achievement is Carbon Pricing Leadership Coalition, and that's in the very early stages of its establishment in Australia. And I actually had an hour's call to the Secretariat of the Carbon Pricing Leadership Coalition tonight, She's normally in Washington, but she's in Sweden at the moment. So we had a long talk with her today, and there's some really exciting prospects coming out of that. And then finally, the Australian Climate Dividend Plan, which is the modelling of carbon fee and dividend that was done for us by a couple of professors at the University of New South Wales, and I'd like to acknowledge Dennis for making that happen, because he used his network to reach out to those two professors who then did the work, which was brilliant. What's working well? What the survey told us is that our group dynamics are really, really important and work well. You know, the fact that we're courteous, positive, and empowering in the way that we operate was highly valued as something that's working really well. Our lobbying was recognised as important, particularly as we're disciplined, respectful, and because we're respectful, we're also respected largely by the people that we lobby and we meet with. Our communications were seen to be personal, positive, and actionable in most cases, so that was really good. And equal third was engagement, the way we engage our members and our supporters. We're varied in what we do, we're practical, and we're interesting were the standout words that came back from the feedback. Our values and principles are really, really important, especially the fact that we're bipartisan and that we have a lot of focus on relationship building. Our management process and style got some kudos, and we're seen to be inclusive, consensus building, and supportive. And our use of technology has been really useful too, particularly as we've made ourselves very accessible through COVID, and as much as possible we encourage participation in our use of technology. Of course, there were areas for improvement, and we're very happy to hear that. And these were the top 6. That our strategy needs a bit more focus on consensus, that our structure can be improved, and it was considered that getting some real funding and possibly appointing some staff that came up from quite a lot of people, so that we are not so dependent on tiring volunteers. Communication, having a consistent brand and consistent ways of communicating was seen as important. Our website is recognised, there's room for improvement there. And there was quite a lot of feedback about our newsletter, and I'm pleased to say that the main bit of input was the suggestion that we have a short newsletter linked to a larger newsletter on the website, and we've already done that. So congratulations, Tom. You've already implemented one of those areas for improvement. And more training was seen as really important. And in our lobbying, to extend to state and local governments as well as federal, we've done quite a bit of that, but the cry is for a bit more of that. To emphasise post-COVID recovery and therefore our climate smart recovery program is seen as really vital. And getting feedback from MPs about how we're doing, and asking them, how we can improve our lobbying came from a few people. The way we operate, decentralized teams are seen to be the way to go, and so there's a cry for more of that. And having measurable outcomes as well was seen as a really important way we could improve. And onboarding our new members and new supporters was seen as really important. Cutting down on US emails so that particularly as new supporters aren't bombarded with those. And perhaps a bit more product appeal. So in other words, that what we're asking for perhaps needs a bit more polish and clarity so that it has more appeal. Not just to people who we're giving it to, but also to us as supporters presenting that information. In terms of future success, these were these were the main things. Carbon fee and dividend policies so having that in place and having it legislated would be a major indicator of success, of course, but also a bipartisan carbon price, even if it's not in dividend, would be very, very acceptable as an indicator of success. Political will for a carbon price was seen as really important. Continuing to build that political will, achieving net zero emissions, and a big increase in renewable energy. The climate smart recovery was seen as important, and more chapters around Australia was seen as really, really, really important. And recommendations to how many of our people who did the survey, how many would recommend CCL to friends and family and colleagues and so on? Well, 73% rated us at 8 out of 10 or more. So that's a pretty high rating. And then people rating us at 5 out of 10 or more, 95%. So clearly, nearly everyone is quite happy to recommend CCL. And the things that they liked that made it easy for them to recommend us was our aims and methodology, the fact that we're motivating and inspiring, well run and organized. So I was delighted to hear that, because sometimes, you know, when you're in the belly of the beast, it's sometimes hard to see how things look to the outside. The fact that it contributes to personal growth was seen as really important. That we have a workable solution that we're offering, that we're focused and we have a lot of positivity is really important, and that we work to be a bridge, not a wedge, and that our solution is very much about a bridge rather than a wedge. And then also people said that they really like our values, and these were the ones that they actually named, like that we're non-partisan, pragmatic, that we have integrity, respect, peaceful, influence, and positivity and actions. So those were the things, specific words that people valued about us. So not a bad record, and but we're very, very clear that we can and will improve, because we want we've got a big job ahead of us still, and also we have all these new supporters who are ready to do lots more. So that's basically the basic information that we can celebrate. And what I'd like to do now is to just open up to anyone and everyone to say what you think, to make your own comments, and to wherever appropriate, tell a story as well. If any story comes to mind that for you illustrates what's been successful or an achievement over the last 6 years, then we'd love to hear it. And even if you've only been with us for a few months, you know, you might have a story that is just as valuable as some of us who've been around for quite a while. So unmute and feel free to share.
I have a question about this MP engagement feedback. So I know that Howard and Emma and Andrew did some MP engagement a couple of weeks ago. So what kinds of feedback in terms of the MP engagement, you know, did the CCL get in the past few months? Yeah.
I can't answer that because I wasn't privy to that particular piece of feedback. Anyone else able to answer that one?
I think the question is generally sort of how many lobby meetings have we had recently, and because we had a chat last night at the Wentworth group about the meeting that we just had with Dave Sharma's advisor, which was very positive. So Jordan, you've recently had a meeting. Do you want to talk about yours to Tim?
Yeah, I mean, you know, Andrew Andrew, you know Andrew Howard?
Yes.
Andrew, yeah. We did the MP engagement a couple of months ago with Emma Story as well. So I just like to know what kind of feedback, I mean, did you guys get from doing that MP engagement in Merrickville? What's the name of this group? Glenn? I don't know the group. Drew is in, yeah.
The Grandler Group, you think?
Yeah, Glendra. Oh, I don't know. It's hard to pronounce the name. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you involved in that MP engagement with Andrew and Emma. But I just like to know in general, what kinds of feedback did you guys get, after doing that MP engagement?
Yes, well, I was at that meeting with Anthony Albanese. If I can give you a bit of feedback from it, it was a good engagement. He wasn't able to give us a lot of his time, but the time he gave us was valuable. We did get quite a strong reaction from him on some of our asks, or one particular ask. But he was listening, and he just reached out to make a positive gesture of bipartisanship by sending a letter to Scott Morrison seeking to work together on climate. And we were able to give him a good thank you for that. And he did have some negatives. He was liable to blaming others, I think, rather than the party itself for the loss of the last election. Yeah, so we didn't see entirely eye to eye, but in terms of good interaction, he finished it by giving us a good plug. He actually took a selfie, himself took a selfie with us and plugged it onto Twitter, his Twitter account, which goes to show that he respected our presence and was trying to show that he is reaching out and talking to our community. And it felt a lot better being there in the office talking to him there than where I'd been in previous years protesting outside his office with the likes of Stop Adani. So
thanks, Tom. And just to summarise that, you know, we've had our own feedback. Of course, after every meeting, we spent quite a bit of time thinking about and analysing how it went, but we haven't had direct feedback from Anthony Albanese's office yet, and so that's actually a fairly new initiative that we're taking on now, of figuring out how can we sort of get an evaluation by getting some feedback from MPs themselves or from their staff when we meet them. So that's kind of a new thing coming. Howard? Yeah.
I think it'd be true to say, Rod, that at most of our meetings, the MPs at the end encourage us to keep up the work we're doing. I think exactly. I don't think there've been many meetings. I can't remember any meeting where an MP hasn't been positive towards us to keep up what we're doing.
Very true. Yeah. Jim?
Yeah, look, I'm interested in what Tom said about the feelings about the loss of the election and who was to blame, because I haven't been to a meeting with an ALP politician for some time, but I know for that sort of immediate few months afterwards when we did meet, or 6 months probably, that was the common theme, that not necessarily they were looking to blame people, but they were in post-mortem phase. So it's interesting that that's still there. And I just wonder whether, in terms of themes from, you know, sort of groups of politicians or parties, I wonder whether our feedback mechanisms could try to see whether there is a common theme, for instance, from ALP politicians. I'm not quite sure how we do that, except when we come together in national conference and things like that. Because, yeah, that there's obviously, you know, we're building a relationship and trying to get on to developing positive solutions and finding common ground. It's good to have got some strategies around those recurrent negatives.
Jim, you've been around with us. You've been with us for quite a few years now and have done some pretty exciting things. I wonder, have you got a particular memory or particular story of what you've achieved or what you've been part of over the last few years?
Probably three things. Three things is getting the confidence to go and speak to elected representatives, have a game plan, work as a team with other people and deliver it, and even deliver it on your own if you get in that situation, which does occur sometimes. So
Yeah.
being empowered to be able to do that in the effective way that CCL does it is pretty awesome. The establishment of the Parliamentary Friends of Climate Action was a major breakthrough, and it didn't come quite how we expected. It came through a crossbencher. Unfortunately, that's been slowed down by COVID, but that's still got a lot of promise. And most recently, and it struck me that for quite a while, the WA team were doing fantastic work writing letters to the editor. But it was a bit more piecemeal around the rest of the country. And the last 6 months have seen a really good group form, which CCL isn't, the sole owner of, but has played a big part in, which is called Paper Pixies. So we are now getting, I think you talked about the drumbeat of
Yes.
our messages in the media. Well, it's really picked up. It's louder and faster now.
Yeah.
And that has to put pressure on politicians for change because they read those letters.
A great trio of things to celebrate. Thanks, Jim. Who else would like to celebrate? I'm going to have to put someone on the spot, am I?
Tom had his hand up.
Tom, okay. Go for it, Tom. Sorry, I missed you.
Well, yeah, I've already said a few words, but the overall point about being in meetings with some of our top politicians, I think that's the high point for me, being involved and having the opportunity to meet and make friends with them has been a real high for me. Having had 3 meetings with Angus Taylor over the last 18 months, and it's just not that we've managed to make huge headways, but we've made that connection, and he's listening, and I think that's the important part of what we've achieved.
Excellent point. And I'd like to pick out Ian Anderson because I know I saw his dinner just arrived, but I'd still like to. I was thinking earlier that you have a lot to celebrate in what you've achieved in Goulburn.
Thank you. Yeah, Howard suggested I might like to say something. That I think, yeah, in Hume we're just 12 months old. In that we've had some successes, I guess, in growing. COVID aside, before COVID we were regularly having in the 70 to 100 people coming to our meetings, and we have about 150, 160 on our email list. We've been quite fortunate to meet with Angus last year, I think 3 times. And I think some of the team also met with some of his assistants down in Canberra. So for the most part, he's been very receptive to us. I guess I would say we have a working relationship in that respectful, and that he does respond to our correspondence. He does meet with us, and although obviously we're on different planets, I think, but yeah, so I wouldn't say it's a positive relationship, but we have a working relationship at the moment.
Yeah.
And if we didn't have any relationship, then we would have no chance of getting our message across. So I think it's good that we have at least a working relationship, and that our Hume group has obviously grown as a result of all that CCL is doing nationally. So yeah, I think, and we did a recent survey of our group just to see how we can be more effective during COVID. We were having trouble getting people together on Zoom, but the really positive feedback we got from our team is that they really value CCL. They really, and the values of CCL. They value the meeting times we have, our speakers, and they're very encouraged by what CCL Hume is doing. So yeah, so some pretty good a pretty good situation to be in. We just have this thing called COVID that's preventing us from being effective as we might be.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks very much, Ian, and congratulations to you and to Hume for what you've achieved. And it's just wonderful to have a direct line to the minister who's actually responsible for this area. And I was talking to my equivalent in Canada the other day, and they're ahead of us in lots of ways. But she said to me that they have yet to meet with a minister of the actual I think to any cabinet minister, I think she said. So we've done well there, and congratulations, Ian and Tom, for your support in that area. Peter Todd.
I'd just like to celebrate the progress Australia is making on the climate issue. So people might not feel that it's we're going forward very fast, but the steps that have occurred, it seems to be both coalition and the Labor Party both believe that wind and solar is our future of electricity. Both parties believe that hydrogen is going to be a key part of our future. The coalition now no longer, it looks like they're going to say they need our Kyoto credits to meet the Paris target. Generally, things are going in the right direction. So, we'd all like it to go a little bit faster, but
Yes.
I think there is something we can celebrate there.
Very true, Peter. Thanks very much, and particularly that amazing webinar 10 days ago when the energy ministers from all the states and territories came together and were basically on the same song sheet, which was very exciting. So yeah, great point. Thank you. I'd like to give Darren or Jordan the chance to speak, because you're both fairly new to CCL, but you've also both done a great job setting up a new chapter in your area. So it'd be lovely to hear from you about how it's been for you, and Scott, about your own success if you like, but also what it is about CCL that works for you.
Thanks for the opportunity to share a little bit about my experiences with CCL. I've only been active for about 8 months with the group, and so I joined late last year, middle of last year, when I was in the US. So that's how I came across CCL, and came back to Australia in the midst of the bushfires, flying into Sydney and enveloped in smoke, and saw all this activity online with people in the Bennelong electorate here in Sydney joining up. And I thought, well, there seems to be some momentum and some interest, so let's see if there's enough people to get a group up and running, because I really really like CCL's ethos and methodology and approach. I think there are a lot of groups out there in the climate movement that have very different approaches and very different theories of change. And while they're all needed, absolutely all needed, I think CCL's approach resonates with me a little more. So yeah, it was February or late January where we held an information session over in Ryde, And yeah, within, I think we had about 15 people at that first meeting. And since then we had monthly meetings. COVID did get in the way a little bit, but yeah, within the first month we had a meeting lined up with John Alexander, which went pretty well. And we had a follow-up meeting scheduled, but then COVID got in the way. So that's been postponed a little bit. But there's been some other successes too. We've had a lot of outreach with our local council. They're very progressive. They've set in place a renewable energy target, and they've invited CCL Bennelong to be part of the Renewable Energy Committee for the local council. I actually received a phone call from a News Corp journalist to make a comment about something that the local council was doing, and Tom helped me find a way to make that a bit more of a climate-related comment on an illegal dumping matter. You know, there's a rise in illegal dumping in the area. So yeah, so we were featured in the newspaper. So there's been a lot of really good things happening. The challenge is always keeping people engaged through this Zoom fatigue that's really set in. And
Yes.
but what I like about this upcoming strategic planning process is that we have the opportunity to really think about how best to build our capacity at the moment and be prepared for, you know, the opportunities ahead, because I think there's a lot of positive momentum and good growth within the organization. Yeah, it's a really great group of people to work with. So I'm very excited. I wasn't a part of all that success with the Parliamentary Friends, but I think there's a lot of good things to come in the future.
Thanks very much, Jordan. Darren, if you want to follow up.
Yeah, so I'll echo a lot of comments there that Jordan said. It's definitely a great group of people to work with. I've been involved in CCL since February. I went to my first meeting, and then the next one I think had to be on Zoom because of COVID straight away. So we're having some success here getting a new Perth and Swan electorate group up and running. We're still trying to get meetings with MPs at the moment, but we've got some training coming up this weekend. Joyce has been very supportive. So yeah, we've got a great group of people that are turning up to the meetings on a regular basis, and enthusiastic about getting involved. So it's a matter of transitioning now into actual meetings with MPs and getting some actual action going on. But yeah, CCL's been great in the opportunities for people to get involved if they want to, right the way through to media teams and all the different options that are available for people. Yeah, it's been a very satisfying experience. It's better than my actual day job. I know you're recording this.
We won't send it to your boss. Yeah.
No.
And while we're in Perth, Militia, I know you're in the same group. We're very happy to hear anything from you if you'd like to share, but you don't have to if you don't want to. Okay, I'll just say a big word about Militia though, that she's stepped up to take on Instagram for us and has done some great work and developed some really nice images that are going forth on Instagram with really interesting quotes and graphics. It's really great. So another thing that's been really great for us is the being joined by Marie, who brings with her a lot of really good experience from our sister organisation Results, and she's shared some of her knowledge and expertise with us, and it's led to the development of the 3 campaigns that I mentioned earlier, and that's sort of been part of galvanising more activity and more support and more hopefulness. So love to hear a little bit from you, Marie, about your story since you joined us.
Thanks, Rod, and hi everyone. Well, it's been a very steep learning curve for me, that's for sure, over the last 6 months, and a little bit like Jordan was compelled through the bushfires to finally turn some outer limits concern to some more central concern and action. So I'm really pleased that we've got these campaigns moving forward, and I think some of my early questioning probably helped to prompt some of the strategic planning thinking that we started to do in the strategy team, which I was very generously invited into at a very early stage. So I think this is really important, and I think it's, you know, it's a courageous decision for any organisation to do strategic planning, because sometimes that creates the opportunity for change, and change is sometimes not as comfortable as doing the things that you've always done. So I, as a recent person being involved in CCL, I am very struck by the values that you really embody, the inclusiveness in this organisation, and the support and the participation, and really everybody has a voice. And I think that that's really important for an organisation that is run by and really owned by volunteers. So I think there's a lot to be said for that. And there's such huge depth of knowledge in this organisation. Maybe you don't really appreciate that when you are in it for a long time, but having come in, I'm just blown away by the knowledge on these issues that many people have, and I'm learning from so many of you about it. And like I think it might have been Tom or Jim said, that private Facebook group, the Paper Pixies, that is a very dynamic and instantaneous platform, and I think that's been really interesting for me to see how effective that is. People supporting each other, and even, you know, ghostwriting letters for others to put in other regional papers. So lots of things to celebrate for CCL, I think, and I'm looking forward to the guiding hand of Claudia in our strategic planning sessions over the next few weeks.
No pressure.
No pressure. So thanks, Rod, for the opportunity and the invitation to be part of CCL all those months ago.
Thanks very much. And I think that leads perfectly into one of the products of the Climate Smart Recovery campaign that Marie helped us develop and is now sort of coordinating, was the production of a sweet little video that was a collaboration of several of our supporters and one of our previous board members. It's been put together, been recorded recently, and I'd love to. And it stars our friend Tom Hunt, and he's going to show it to us right now. Just 5 minutes, and then we'll come back to finish off. Over to you, Tom. Tom, we're not getting the sound yet. There's something you have to do.
Tom, you've got to unmute yourself on the screen.
Sorry. Try again.
No, it's actually something else you have to do, and I forgot to teach you this trick. So maybe can you stop sharing, and I'll share my version of it, because I know how to make it work. Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay. So there's a particular thing that has to be done. It's called Optimize Share for Full Screen Video Clip. There we go.
I don't think any of us will forget the year 2020. First, we saw the horrific summer bushfires, which put us in the global spotlight and gave us a real taste of the impacts of climate change. Then we saw the whole world become gripped by a global pandemic. The world is changing. I'm not so worried for myself, but I'm very worried for my grandchildren. We've seen how effective our governments can be as they face this latest crisis. They put party politics aside, they listened to the experts, and they worked together, and we supported them in communities around the country. I know that climate change is an even bigger looming crisis that also needs big solutions that can happen fast. So on top of our individual actions on climate change, we need governments to act using the same approach and with our support. That's why my journey of thinking I've got to do more about climate change brought me to Citizens Climate Lobby. Citizens Climate Lobby is a group of everyday Australians who work to build the political will to accelerate climate change solutions. I'm Tom, and I'm one of those everyday Australians. Politicians don't build political will. The people do. We do. We meet with politicians directly, all of them, not just the ones who already agree with us. We also write letters and get involved in all sorts of other ways. When you've got an issue that's been polarised like climate change, the most effective way to get people on board is to build a respectful relationship with them, to find common ground, and then to discuss solutions. Now, it feels good to work like this, and the best thing is that it actually works. It works with our family, it works with our neighbours, and it also works with our elected representatives. So this respectful approach is really at the heart of CCL, and it's part of what makes our approach so powerful. Well, these days, exciting climate change solutions are happening everywhere around us, from renewable energy to carbon farming to electric vehicles. And many experts are keen to have all these fabulous technologies be a key part of rebuilding our economy, which has been affected so much by the pandemic. But if we are to reverse climate change, there must be large-scale transition to all the best solutions, and must happen faster. The solution that can make this a reality, and that CCL advocates for, is a carbon pricing solution called carbon fee and dividend. This solution will unlock investment and catalyse climate-smart industries. It has strong support from some of the world's most prominent climate advocates, business leaders and economists. They describe it as a critical step towards limiting and reversing climate change. Right now it might seem an ambitious aim, with many challenges ahead, but with your help, CCL's advocacy plan will, step by step, bring us closer to this core solution and a livable world. And the good news is we don't need thousands of people to get the message to our MPs. Half a dozen people in each electorate bringing this message directly to their MPs and to their community can have a huge impact. More members than that would be a bonus and will enable us to do even more. So if you're ready to carry this message to your MP and to your community, or if you just want to learn more about this vital issue, then we're ready to show you how. So let's take the handbrake off and get money flowing through our economy towards the climate solutions of the 21st century. Why don't you join us? Learn more and sign up at ccl.org.au.
Thank you very much, Tom.
Wow.
And also, while I'm looking at videos, talking videos, I want to give a big shout out to Philip, who's, yes, he's on screen, Philip Pomfret, who has been taken on the role of video editor and has been taking the raw material of many of our online talks and meetings and has put them into a video and organized them into our YouTube channel, and so that means that we have an enormous amount of very valuable material available for anyone who wants to go and look at it. So 3 cheers to Philip. Thank you very much for that.
With assistance from Darren and Ian. Thank you.
Thank you, Darren and Ian. That's great. So we're nearly out of time. So what I'd like to do is finish, give Claudia an opportunity to just say a couple of words about what's coming up in the next 3 weeks in terms of the strategic planning process, and then we'll close off shortly after that. Claudia.
Thanks, Rod. Nothing like being put on the spot.
Yeah.
I guess that's what's going to happen the next 3 weeks. So nice to meet you all. I'm the facilitator for the next 3 weeks on the strategic planning session, and I look forward to working with you on that. The 3 sections have very distinct themes. So the first one will be looking at success, and we'll be having some conversations around some of the disparities we have around what actually should be our focus at this point in time, and making sure we have some alignment at the end of it. And that should then result into a vision for us for the next 3 to 5 years. The second session then we'll look at the goals that we want to achieve, and the third section will be around action planning. So really getting down to what it is that we need to focus on to make our vision happen and to make sure that we're successful in what we're doing. So that's in a nutshell the 3 sessions. There'll be 2 hours each. You will get a pre-pack for each of the sessions, so there's a little bit of pre-reading to do. It won't be too strenuous, I hope, but it just gives you enough information to be prepared for the session. It will tell you, what it's all about, what's going to happen, and also what you need to prepare. Just a couple of things to be made aware of to make it easy for you on the day. Yeah, that's probably about it at this stage. And yeah, I look forward to next week. It'll be good.
Fantastic, Claudia. I'm looking forward to it too. And having a clearer direction for all of us is going to be really important. So thank you for that. So just to finish off, we're going to finish up formally shortly, but for those of you who want to stay on and have a casual chat and have a beer or a glass of wine or a cup of coffee or whatever you'd like to accompany you for the next little while, feel free to stay on. But I'd like to finish by first of all celebrating celebrating what we've achieved and thanking all of you for coming along with me and many others on the journey. I'd also like to thank, there's no representative here, but I'd like to thank CCL USA for all the enormous help and support and resources they've shared with us, and the generosity of their spirit. And also I'd like to refer again to the next 3 months, because it's going to be an exciting ride, and up to the next conference and lobby days. And again, draw attention to Sophie, our intern, and but also to let you know about our other intern, who is actually based in Los Angeles, California, and he's going to be interning from there virtually, of course. And but he's already fired up and excited, and he's already joined his local chapter of CCL in Los Angeles, and so we have so a lot of work is going to be built around those 2 people over the next few weeks, and lots of others will be supporting them, and it's going to be, as I say, galvanizing and inspiring period of time, which I think will take us to another level in terms of our CCL activity and advocacy and effectiveness. So thank you for coming on board, Sophie, and looking forward to all the ways in which we're going to be supporting you and getting to November with a fairly exciting bunch of MPs to meet with.
Very much looking forward to it.
Great, good. Okay, well, that's the end of the formal period and the end of the recording. Looking forward to hanging out with anyone who wants to stay on for a chat.
So, Rod, you've missed the most important thing.
Oh, what's that?
The most important thing.
Oh, yes, sorry.
Forget everything else that's happened tonight. This is the most important thing.
Yes, tonight is also the draw for the prize for the people who participated in the survey and gave us their time and their information and sharing that with us. A number of those people who filled out the survey also put their name in for the draw, and that draw is about to be done electronically, randomly, by some magic piece of cyber equipment to deliver us the name of someone who's going to be a lucky prize winner. So
it is the most sophisticated system you'll ever see for a prize draw. In these COVID times, we unfortunately have to resort to, well, we can't use the typical barrel where we can draw it out from, but we have a spreadsheet of the people who opted in for the prize draw. There's 36 people who filled in the survey and said that they wanted to be included. And we have this randomizer, random.org, which uses, true random in its algorithm as opposed to pseudo random. So you know that it's going to be accurate. So all we're going to do is hit this generate button 3 times, and we'll have 3 winners, and the winners get to choose one of these 6 books, which are recommended reads by CCL members. I've read half of those books, not all of them, but they're all definitely on my list. So without further ado, I'm going to hit the generate button for the first winner, the first recipient. I tell you what, this is random. I know that's actually my number. So, so I'm going to redraw that one. But, that's fine. We'll redraw it. 34 is the first prize winner. So Rachel Neely.
She's not on screen, so
that's all right.
We'll be letting her know.
Yeah, we'll be letting her know. Catherine Clements is a lucky second recipient. And number 22, Dane Sheridan. So congratulations to you 3, and thank you to everyone who filled in that survey. It was very, very important and very useful. So especially leading into our strategy sessions coming up.
Correct. Yeah, that's great.
I'll be in touch with the winners there to send out the prizes.
Thank you very much, Jordan. So now we can relax and hang out as we wish, and or carry on with whatever else your evening brings for you. So many thanks for being with us, and looking forward to the next 3 weeks of frantic activity.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Rod, for tonight. It was lovely.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Ray. Good night, Claudia.
Good night.
Thanks for that reminder, Howard. G'day, Richard. Nice to see you again.
Did I miss much? I was a bit late getting on, I'm afraid.
Yeah, you missed a few things, but the recording is there. Will be there if you want to come back to it.
Yeah, I'll have a look.
Should I stop the recording?
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to our CCL channel by hitting the button in the top left-hand corner of this screen. Spread the word of CCL by using the share icon to as many of your contacts as possible. Thank you. See you next video.